Thank you. My name is Kaitlyn Blade, and I made this painting. In today's video, we'll be going over how I made this painting from start to finish. And the more in-depth extended version of this tutorial of sorts will be added to my online course, which is available with the link in my bio. Also, any footage directly from my course will be labeled with this very cute graphic that I made of me teaching it. Forgot to say that. Thank you to KBladeArt School for sponsoring this video, aka me. This painting is called The Artist in Her Studio. It's 36 by 48 and it's made with oil paint on canvas. This is my biggest self-portrait painting. Actually, it's my biggest oil painting ever. Kinda ate with that one, can't lie. Many artists and painters do self-portraits of themselves, specifically in the studio, dating back hundreds of years. The old masters doing this to show off their palettes and paintings they were working on to show this environment. So I thought with all the weird and different self-portraits that I do, ones with octopuses, the emotional work, that it was just time for me to create a portrait of me in my own environment painting, just like the old masters did. So in this video, I'll be explaining the entire process from the reference photo to the concept and all the ugly bits and breaks in between. Let's get started. I started this painting last summer in 2025. I knew at the start that I just wanted it to be a painting of me in the studio. I obviously had this shirt on, which is like my go-to painting shirt, if you know, you know. Then obviously my paint pants. I don't have the pants on right now. I mean, I have pants on, just not the, never mind. I'm wearing pants, just not those. I just thought it was kind of funny that whenever someone asked what I was painting, that I would be like, oh, I'm painting a painting of me painting a painting, because I am. It's kind of cool, you know? How often can you say that? So to begin, we have to start with a reference photo. Like normal, I set up my camera on my phone with the Lens Buddy app and took a million pictures, and then the next step was choosing one, the tiny study. For this painting, I was choosing between two photos. I just picked some favorites that I like the composition of, the pose of, to like represent the original idea. In the past, I have just gone into the painting without really knowing what I wanted to do, but more recently, I've been wanting to be more prepared so that in the long run, I'm not super stressed. Even though every painting kind of stresses me out, but it's okay. When I do feel like that and I want to have more preparation, I choose to do a tiny study. Just like the skull at the beginning of this course, I get a feel for the paint and I learn from the past mistakes that I made. So when I make this tiny study, I'm going to notice some mistakes, making the composition, painting the image, or notice things that I struggled with, so that when I start the actual painting, I remember the mistakes that I made and I learn from it. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that I struggled with this block of hair, or I struggled with this arm. What did I do to fix it in the tiny study? What can I do in the bigger painting that I did in the tiny study that helped me out? This tiny study kind of gives you a muscle memory, and I can paint more confidently and sure of myself when I actually start the piece. Doing a tiny study before can help you feel more prepared for the official painting. These are the two studies that I did, and these were the two pictures that I was choosing from. It's basically like a trial run and definitely boosts your confidence with the bigger painting. I felt like I really needed this because this is, again, the biggest self-portrait I've done, and I hadn't painted at this size, to this degree, to this seriousness in a while. So I do feel like this helped a lot. Because I was choosing between two different photos, two different poses, I kept composition in mind the most when I was looking at this, not necessarily colors or what kind of brushwork I wanted to do or anything like that. The only thing I was certain of going into these tiny studies was the color lemon yellow. I definitely want to use that for the background. It's just what I saw for this painting for some reason. A color that I used in my backgrounds a lot in college just because of how bright it is and how like it'll make the subject matter pop from the background a lot more. It's kind of like an acid color to me, like it feels like toxic, and I don't know, I just like that. So the next part of the process was to prime my canvas. I don't always do this, actually, like 95% of the time I don't, because I'm really lazy sometimes. Should I say that? I like to just start. That's really what it is. Not me being lazy per se. It's just sometimes I just don't want to do that, so I don't. Technically, the canvas was already primed because it's white, so you can tell it's primed. But I noticed that this specific canvas, I don't know if it's because of the size or what, it was like extra rough. And I noticed some like little chips out of the canvas and stuff. So I decided to gesso it. I like the lead up of starting something new. Doing the tiny study, doing the prep work, it's really fun. It just makes you feel like you put more love into the canvas. Just like when you're cooking, all the prep work that you do, you can obviously buy pre-cut onions, but cutting the onions yourself makes the dish feel more special. When you're eating, it's like, there was love in this, you know? I did all of it from scratch. Anyway, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of hungry. I haven't eaten all day. I decided to gesso it. I just did one layer of gesso, sanded it with a nail file because all I had. Then the next part was to figure out which image I wanted to work from. I asked my brother and his girlfriend Kaya what image I should do. I like to ask an outsider looking in their opinion, sometimes but not always. Normally, no, I don't. I like to just deal with it on my own. I get real picky. Having someone that isn't thinking like me and isn't doing it, it can help my opinion and help me just choose. We agreed on this one, and this one is like more dynamic, I guess. It's not just straight on. Something I did kind of want was this angle in my back because that's based on the original sketch. But I ended up just choosing this one. I think looking back on it, it's my first portrait of me in the studio. I'm sure I'm gonna make another one eventually. Let's just make it simple and direct. Something I haven't done before, of me just simply painting. So for this painting, I decided to not do a transfer method. This is something I like to do when I'm just trying to practice. And I kind of wanted to challenge myself with this big of a painting to see if I could do it without transferring in any way. Transfer method meaning gridding or using a projector or even just having a drawing of it and transferring that drawing over or sketching before, anything like that. Just wanted to like really paint in a raw way without any of that specific prep work. For this more intricate painting, do I want to do a transfer method so I know that I have the proportions right, or do I just want to challenge myself and practice that skill? It probably would have been better if I just practiced that skill with studies, which I do like to do, but I'm hard-headed and I like to challenge myself. The underpainting. I noticed something with my work that it's becoming more messy and painterly and like intentional. I'm being more intentional with where I place messy parts and where I place more finished things. Going into this, I was like, I want this to be a very, what's the word? Like, what's the word for like a food when they say like a burger, right? But it's not constructed, deconstructed. Yeah, I'm hungry, bro. I want a burger so bad right now. But gotta film. More deconstructed, more raw, unfiltered type of painting where it's not just so perfect and everything is exactly like realistic. I wanted that to show, especially because it's a painting of me painting and I want it to be more painterly. That's another reason why I decided not to do a transfer method, because sometimes a transfer method can cause things to be too stiff and too perfect, too calculated, and I wanted those brush strokes to show. I wanted the layers underneath to show through. I wanted the mistakes there. Something real human, not AI. My hands, one of one. You know what I mean? I find that I can keep things painterly with smaller paintings. That's why I used this big canvas as an experiment. I went in with raw umber and started the sketch. And as you can see, there's multiple layers where I am just making a big mess. Something I learned in college is like the first brushstroke that you place down, you don't have to be attached to it. You don't want to be attached to anything that you put down too early because you just started. So right now you're experimenting and you're figuring out what's best for the composition. I noticed that I was painting too high or painting too low, where things were getting cut off that were going to be awkward if I kept it. I had to figure out, just with my brain and my hand, how big I wanted it to be. And if I made the head this big, what does that mean for the rest of my body? What does that mean for the canvas and for the chair and everything? Like, where is that going to be placed if I made my head this big? That's what that first part was. I like that part too. That's why I was standing while painting too. I could just look back at it. Look back at it. Not like that, not like that. No. Where I could just stand back and look at it and then come back and be like, no, I don't like that, and wipe it away. Honestly, that too is just like a warm up where you're not so attached to the blank canvas. You're not so attached to this specific thing. There was multiple times where I was like thinking, oh, I really like that, but I don't want to ruin it. But I'm like, girl, there's no color on here. Basically, it's just lines. You're basically drawing. Because of that mess that I was making with just the raw umber, I like to add another color in there, which is usually white, or I do yellow ochre sometimes, just to add that light back in there when it's kind of impossible, like it's too dry to take away. So I'll put in the white, almost make some sort of a grisaille, which just means a black and white version of your painting before you add color on top. During this whole process, I'm figuring out the values, I'm figuring out the composition, and I'm figuring out the proportions. And I'm placing big shapes. I'm not caring about the specifics right now. Basically training your brain to prioritize the right things. It looks like a person's face, like my face, just from these small marks. And that's what I mean about like starting simple and then building up. When I squint my eyes, what are the most simple shapes that I see? And that's all this, what my painting process is, kind of like training my eye to be better at doing that. There's our face. It looks kind of crazy, like Stonehenge, but we're just gonna keep working upon it, right? This is the ugly stage. Most of the paintings that I make, they go through an entire ugly stage, like the entire beginning is. Because I'm just starting. Like you can't expect a perfect painting right away. You have to expect mistakes. That's the only way you can get better at painting. Like you can't expect the whole process to be perfect because it usually isn't. Usually things pop up, you weren't expecting it, you know? A problem with the piece or Something just doesn't look right. You gotta be okay with that. I'm not gonna prioritize the features of my face until it's time. Because I know how the grid works and of all the different measuring tools that I learned in college about drawing the human figure, I kind of halfway grid. Technically it's a grid, but just for specifically things that I know are wrong. I know that I was having a really hard time making sure everything looked proportionate. Especially with a certain angle, you don't realize looking at a picture when something will look weird as a painting. You have to train your eye to do that as well. You don't want a picture with soft, even lighting. A lot of photographers do this because it makes people look better, right? Like it evens out your skin tone, it removes blemishes. But a thing to remember is just because it's a good picture doesn't mean that it will make a good painting. Soft lighting in reference photos isn't really a good thing for oil painters because while it does get rid of wrinkles and acne, it also gets rid of the shadows, which is important to have in oil painting, like I mentioned in the value lesson. Shadows help define the shape and form in a face. It's hard to find the value shifts in an image with little to no shadows. Take this photo for example. If I put the darkest dark and the lightest light next to each other, they're pretty close in value. And that's something we kind of don't want. We want a lot of variety in value. When looking for pictures to paint from, you want a photo that has a direct light source and has very distinct light and shadows. In the right pictures, the shadows are so easy to define that you can outline them on a piece of paper and the image already starts to appear. Just because it's a good picture doesn't mean it'll make a good painting. Something that you have to remind yourself when you are painting is to not get too particular about one spot. That happens to me all the time, is where I'm like so in the zone, I'm watching a show while painting, I'm listening to music, I'm like, I know how to paint this, and I'll like focus in on one part without realizing it's not time for that yet. And still here I'm just using white and raw umber as my colors. Hello, just had a thought, because I'm doing the underpainting still. I just kind of want this painting to be very painterly, very intentional with where things are more refined or less refined. I had that thought and I immediately started getting more confident in my brush strokes and confident in like me knowing what I'm doing. Usually I'm very worried during the process because I'm unsure of where to go with a certain area of the painting when it doesn't matter. Like I'm thinking of the right way to paint something when I can just do whatever I want. It's my painting. I can do whatever I want. So that's what I'm gonna do. Like this one, you see it's more painterly and like messy. I love that. So I'm going to make this in this style, but have some of this peek through where the underpainting shows, even the grid marks and stuff. I just feel like me. The more I do this, the more I will complete paintings and the more that I will create and the more that I will be successful. Because you're successful when you are happy with your life and your passion, when you're creating and pushing past the barriers again, every time I make something, pushing past the fear that I started with. Because what do I have to be scared about, bro? No one's asking me to do this. I am doing it on my own. So, therefore, I will do whatever I want with it. And it doesn't have to be a perfect painting because no one is here telling me that. It's just me by myself. Yeah, I'm having fun. Yay, yay, yay. The point of this piece was to be painterly and be messy and not get so particular. So why am I doing that? Snap out of it. Especially for this beginning part, because I was using just white and raw umber and I had the mini fake grid on there. It was looking really cool, like almost architectural in a way, or like on grid paper, like mathematical or something. The concept. I was just looking for my next big serious painting. Back in 2024, as I was planning, I'm just like you, there was another concept that I took reference photos for that I still have not started. So I was actually going to start that one, but then I just looked through my sketchbook to find some notes for it or find some old sketches for it that I might have made. And then I saw this sketch and I was like, wait, this is kind of intriguing me way more than the original idea. I literally had the thought, I should paint myself painting a painting. Like, yeah, they used to do that back in the day. Since I'm so used to painting emotional portraits, I should do just me painting. So that's what I did. The artist in her studio. I wanted this painting to feel like I was capturing a moment in time that many people don't get to see. The artist's studio space. This space for all artists is a secluded personal sanctuary. It allows artists to experiment, reflect on their emotions and inner world, and document their artistic development, document all of that without judgment, like alone. Very intimate space, very serious. Like if you've ever been here, then you know I really mess with you. Like it's nothing to play with. This is a place that I can cry and I can come and be alone and make something that no one's ever seen before and no one's ever made before. I've also gotten some comments lately that kind of point out the amount of paintings that I make of myself, and I've even gotten called a narcissist as a joke. I must be very conceited. I can see how it might come off that way, but I would also argue that self-portraits are a way of self-expression, having the ability to recreate an image of yourself into art. even a photo of yourself taken on a camera is self-expression, especially in all the ways that you can warp, embellish, add to, take away, and just change an image of yourself to better replicate an idea or show an emotion. Sometimes for no reason at all other than to just have fun with art and creating and look really cool. Art is supposed to be fun. It's in all of us to create. I feel most connected with my art when it's of me, especially when it's experiences that I've been through, thoughts that I'm having, emotions that I'm having. And sometimes it's just easier to take a picture of me, you know, than to like get models. Something I do want to do this year is make more paintings of my friends and stuff, or people that want to model for me, to make it more inclusive, kind of ambiguous, to where people can feel like they see themselves in the piece. And you know what? I won't be here forever. And I know we have so many ways to have pictures of us online and digital versions of us, but physical and archival art and media in general will always have my heart. Things like oil paintings, drawings, books, physical pieces of paper will hopefully stand the test of time. And like in 3,000 years from now, just imagine someone finding a portrait of me and being like, who is this beautiful queen? Did she make this herself? Well, yes, I did. And here's a whole written autobiography about me as well. There's just something about that. We might not have Instagram and TikTok in 3,000 years, but my paintings will be there being dug up. Archival pieces of history. So think about that. We're not gonna have a picture of me on Instagram anymore. We're gonna have a portrait of me that I made that has never existed before, with an octopus coming out of my head.
Clock it, bitch.
So yes, I'm gonna keep painting myself. That's the concept, and after that whole speech, I think it's pretty cool. I also enjoy the fact that it's not because of a breakup or, you know, mental turmoil that I created this, but at the same time, a lot is attached to this, and I'll explain in a second. I had this painting as a work in progress at an art show. At this time, I was showing the process also, like the work in progress on Instagram, TikTok, and people were just loving where it was at, so that kind of added to my like attachment to it. I was like, I love where it's at too. How do I keep this? How am I supposed to keep these parts that people love and that I love and not overwork it? I was really enjoying it at this point. And that's kind of the problem, is that I was enjoying it too much. When that happens, I get too attached and then I take a break. But that break also was because of a different reason. That reason brings us to today's sponsor, KBladeArt School. It's me. I'm sponsoring myself because I made a painting course. And if you want to learn how to paint like me, you should check it out in my bio. Those 6 months were the most stressed I've ever been in my life for a multitude of reasons that I'm going to air out eventually.
I'm coming for you.
But not today. Today is all about my painting and the joy of art, and I'm really proud of my course and my painting, so we're just gonna keep it at that. Once August hit, I was preparing for my online course, redoing the entire studio, cleaning it up so that I could create a video like this. Professional teacher, Kaitlyn Blade, you know, researching a lot. I was writing the scripts for each module of my course, making sure I wasn't telling y'all just random information, making sure everything was organized and safe and professional. Painting every day. I would wake up, I wouldn't go to the gym, only have one meal a day probably, and I would either do one of those things all day and also talking to the camera about what I'm doing. Eventually editing. I did find a good workflow, I felt like, but it was very rushed because I only had like 2 months to do it because I had a deadline. The deadline got pushed, so I basically had 3 months to create exercises and film everything, and then also edit everything and then post everything, make promo videos. It was a lot. It was really fun for half of it. Many months, a lot of stress and tears and energy to create this, all while dealing with problems in my personal life, ultimately giving me major burnout and a hormonal imbalance. But regardless, it's something I'm super, super proud of. I've never worked that hard in my life in such a short amount of time. Not even when I was in college, in art school, where we had to do like 3 paintings in a week or something. I'm kind of being dramatic, but also I'm not. It's now fully available and stuff is being added to it as I finish. The in-depth version of this video will be something that's being added, where I'm going to be showing more behind the scenes, like me actively working on this and talking to the camera about my process, just to tell you what we kind of go over in the course as well. Not to say I know everything about oil painting, but you will be getting everything I know. Like, you literally have my brain in a course. The first module covering about me, how I kind of started as an artist, how to set up a studio, the supplies that you need, all the supplies I use, how to have a safe space when oil painting with the fumes and everything, how to use oil paint. We go over a few brush types, what they do, just getting used to creating, getting used to being at a canvas and drawing. Then we go over the basics like color theory, value, composition, how to find and create your own reference photos for oil painting, how to see value in a picture and put it into your painting, how to train your brain to look at that, and also what colors to use when you're trying to portray light and form. A mini lesson on painting and drawing the human figure. Finally, my entire painting process 2 times over. We got 2 portraits that I go through step by step. We have palette cam, face cam, painting cam, over probably 6 hours of footage for you to go over, and it's set up in a similar way that I learned in college. When you get the course, you get it forever, and you don't have to go to art school because I teach you everything that I learned. You get access to me as well. We have a Discord on the school community that I have. You can literally talk to me on there and ask me any questions and I'll respond. Yeah, feel free to check it out. Just want to let you guys know, for those whole 6 months, I was doing that. It is literally my child. So like, valid reason to take a break from this. This is the painting I worked on after all of that work. So I do feel like the full process of this needed to be added to the course because honestly, a part of the course is probably in here. The tears are probably in this painting. Yeah, even talking about it, I feel very proud of the work and I'm ready to like dive back into working on it. So that's why I'm making this video. Let's get back to how I finished this after all of that work. After the 6-month break that I used to create my course, I was super burnt out, like I said, and I needed a major reset. My course dropped October 1st of 2025. After that, I was still doing work. I was posting weekly, promote the course, do ads for it, keep up with the students that I already had. By the time December hit, I wasn't even in Christmas mood, bro. I was like, I need to sleep. But you know what I decided to do, because I'm literally a crazy person? I gave myself more work. I was trying to find different work because for me, shout out to my mom because I probably got it from her, I need to feel productive, or in general, I need to feel like I'm creating something. I can't just lay down all day. It's not in me. Like, I love to lay down and I love to sleep, but after one day of doing that, I can't keep doing that. Like, that's not my idea of rest, or, you know, refilling my cup after that major burnout that I just received. Because I start to feel like a bum and I start to feel like I'm not actively working towards my purpose. I had to feel like I was creating something different and working on something different. I decided to do Vlogmas for the first time and I felt really motivated and inspired from the idea. So that meant something to me. When you're burnt out as an artist, creative burnout, I find that the thing that helps the most is something creative that's different than what you've been doing that has been burning you out. I was oil painting, I was editing, but it was for the course. It was to teach people. When I thought of the Vlogmas thing, it literally made me excited, like, oh, I could see myself just vlogging me getting out of creative burnout. Like, that's the Vlogmas series. I love Christmas and I shouldn't be feeling this down around this time. So let me do something to force myself to get up. And usually that's the camera. I'm not about to have y'all catch me slacking. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not about to put the camera up and just me in the bed. I know I need to make this interesting. I need to show that I am fighting for myself. I decided to do a weekly video for the whole month of December. It was just a really great outlet for me, a change of pace. It showed me that like I really can get this stuff done. I can make a good video in a short amount of time that doesn't have to be so perfect. Like, there's something in there about perfectionism too. Like, not every video has to be beautiful and like deep. It literally just was like a week of me making breakfast, talking to the camera, and working myself up to paint again, and just like being around family. There's no time to be perfectionist about this video. Let me just put it out. And that series is something I'm really proud of. Like, I love how those videos came out, and I love how like the transformation. Right when that started, the first week of December started, I got sick, and I felt like it was just all a message of like, I'm coming out of this stronger. This December is gonna really heal me in a lot of different ways. I'm gonna want to paint again. I'm gonna move differently about 2026, and I'm gonna not be so tired of creativity. I'm not gonna let what happened the last 6 months deter me from being an artist, because I've seen that happen. I've had that happen to me. Like, so I fought for myself. While my videos are very lifestyle focused, I like to implement all my art thoughts and current paintings that I'm working on and stuff in my vlogs. I was like, let me just work on something that isn't about teaching and isn't a study or whatever. So had to revisit her again. In December, I painted some. I was kind of easing back into work. It was very nerve-wracking because the attachment I had to where it was at. I didn't know where to start. You could see in the December vlogs, I was painting but not really adding much, just easing back into work again. I could tell when I was painting that I didn't want to ruin it, so I'm just gonna work around it. As my paintings get more elaborate, everything takes me longer to create, especially with the breaks I take in between. I decided decided to make a video series, like a mic'd up painting series, which is just me wearing a mic, just talking with you guys about the art. Try not to ruin my painting with me. And I was talking about what I envisioned for this piece, talking myself through what I'm wanting, in turn pushing myself to complete it. It's a lesson for that feeling. The only way to complete a painting is to do it. Why would I stop? Because I'm scared of ruining it. Like, I can either be scared and never touch it again and be fine with that, or I can keep going and mess it up and then just change it to how I want it to look. It's a very simple concept, but while you're painting, it can go one of two ways. That's the war of art. Wouldn't you rather want to take the uncomfortable route, even though it's a little uncomfortable for a little bit, and finish the painting? Yes. I just need to remember that more. Because of that little fear I was having, I was easing back into making art again. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted to keep, what I wanted to get rid of, or like develop some more. So I was just doing light washes. I did light washes on the background and my skin and stuff, as if it was a grisaille and I was just adding the skin tone on top. Eventually I realized that I wanted for sure the hand and face to be the most developed out of everything. And I was referencing artists like Richard Schmidt, one of my favorite artists of all time, because he does this really well, picking and choosing what's painterly and messy and what's specific and more rendered. So I started working on face and the hand more intentionally. And because I had a clear path of what the next step was, it was much easier for me to progress in this painting. I need some water. I've been talking for too long, y'all. I don't know who's gonna edit this, but shout out to them. It became a lot easier for me to progress because I knew what I was doing somewhat. I had a plan. The next part was just literally me adding more layers, mixing my skin tones, adding basically like different faces and different arms and hands on top of what I already had, because I knew like that was the focal point. And I'm just looking at my image and placing the colors that I see almost as if they're puzzle pieces. The next part of my process is literally just layers. This same thing, this is the longest part of the process. The rest of the painting is like me playing around with this. We got the skin tones down, we're building up upon it. Like, this is not necessarily my skin color, but it's a good base to have. Still placing just colors next to each other. That's what I prefer over just over blending, right? I think people have this idea like we're meant to be blending. How do you blend a skin tone? How do you blend your colors on the canvas? I'm kind of blending on here. Like, if I put red here, it kind of blends with the color that's on the canvas, but it's really about putting a color next to each other. So let me explain. If we have a dark color here and we put a light color next to it, obviously those are two very different colors, so it doesn't look like a transition, right? What we can do is add a mid-tone color in between to kind of mix the two. And at the same time, you know, oil paint is wet, so it's gonna kind of blend, but we have like a transition of these three colors. So it looks like they're blended, but it's literally just three colors next to each other. That's just an example like of what we're doing here around the entire canvas. So I have the base values there already, and then I'm making a colored version of that value and adding it on top. And I'm making sure that my values are correct so that it feels like a form. Like I've mentioned in the course, value does like basically 90% of the work in a painting, more than color. So if you have the value correct, then you're good. Just make sure the color matches the value. Something else I like to do is like bounce around in my paintings. I don't like to just complete everything in one go, like my face in one go, and then move on to my arms and then my legs or whatever. Every painting session, I come back and I'm like, what can I work on? What can I add right now? I loved parts of the painting and I wanted it to stay somehow, but I didn't know how to further develop it. So I kept doing this back and forth, like I can keep this how it is, but it also looks really unfinished, but also I kind of want it to look unfinished because that's kind of the look I'm going for, but also at the same time, I don't want it to look literally unfinished. When someone sees this, they're like, are you sure you're done with that? Or when I see it, basically. It's just like a skill that I have to practice, the back and forth, what needs to stay, what needs to go, what's intentionally messy and not rendered, and what is. I was also constantly like referencing paintings where I've done this, like this one right here, or the one of me in the mirror, Don't Lose Yourself, where I've kept something sketchy looking, and I really love those parts of the painting. So because I knew that these were the focal point, I wanted to keep the side objects very messy. And something else that I really appreciate about this painting is that even the background, it's showing the canvas, the raw canvas. Drips of paint that I intentionally put in, which is something I feel like I don't normally do. I like to have a painting pretty covered, so I feel like I'm experimenting with everything that I've learned in my whole life, basically, about oil painting and painting in general, watercolor, anything into this piece. I noticed that I get really attached to specific stages of the painting. I realized during this journey that it's okay for me to be like, I really like this stage, but we gotta move on. Instead of being like, I really like the stage, let's never touch it again. Or I really like this stage, I appreciate what it was, but we have to keep going forward. Because something that would happen is like, I'll really like something, what it was before, and I'll look at it now and be like, oh, I messed it up, I ruined it, it's the worst thing ever, I liked how it was before. Like, I'm comparing old versions of it to the current version, when I can just be positive about it. Like, well, yeah, I really like that, but also I really like what it is now too. It's something different, but it still can be appreciated. I don't really know how to explain a painting unless I'm doing it right now, which I do in the course, by the way. I'm just having little tidbits of like what I was thinking about during this time. Taking the skin color, putting it on the skin parts, and making sure those are more developed, like my foot, which is a little weird because now my foot is engraved in the painting forever, but just don't make it weird. Maybe I made it weird by mentioning it, but let's cut to the next scene. With the paint cart, I made sure to have brush strokes in there and make it more messy, because I do remember liking that older version of it where it was messier, and because I don't want people to be like, look at that paint cart. I want people to look at this first and then move around the painting. So that's just another like tip about composition, because you can guide the viewer's eye wherever you want it to go. So I knew that the center of this painting is me painting. It's not the cart. So I'm not gonna make that super realistic and super rendered. Another thing I think I get asked a lot is like, how do you know when a painting's done? Honestly, I don't know. Like, it's just a feeling of like content. Like, I don't think a painting is ever really done, because I could definitely work on parts of this more. It's just a feeling of, I'm okay with this. I'm content with where it's at right now and it's done. Like, I don't want to work anymore on it. It's just a feeling, I guess. You basically have to make a decision. Do I want to add another layer to further develop it, or do I just want to leave it alone? Because there is like this concept of making something too pretty and too perfect. Not that I wanted to render it to that degree, but I just noticed that it was very flat looking. It was all kind of like one value. It looked like me, but there was not a lot of depth in it. So I decided I need to add one extra layer to my face. And there's always that fear of like, oh, I could literally totally ruin this, but you just gotta jump. Leap and the net will appear. Trust the process and everything will be fine, because it always is. You always finish a painting and you always are fine. Also with this part, right, the painting, when I was posting about it, people kept saying, oh, you should make it a painting of you painting a painting of you painting a painting a painting. Like, have something in there. I could have done that, but I just didn't want to take away from the focal point. Like, it wasn't a super realistic painting. That's not the point here. When I finally signed it, I felt really weird because it feels unfinished in some parts. And I always like to say, I like to let a painting marinate a little bit after working on it. That means two things. The paint settling in, because oil paint needs to like marinate a little bit and just sit on the canvas for a couple of days dry so I can really see what the end result will look like. But also in my head, marinate a little bit, look at something else, work on something else, come back later with fresh eyes and be like, okay, yeah, this is done. Maybe I need to add this there, or maybe whatever. I think with how I did it and the style that I did it, it was hard for me to be like, this is actually done. But eventually I had an appreciation for it, especially thinking about how like no one's ever made this before. Like, not this specifically. This is literally one of a kind painting. People see my progress, but they don't know what the final result will be. Only I know that. Or actually, I don't even know that either. Only I can choose that. So it's okay. It's good for the skill level I'm at. Let's move on. You know, a lot of self-doubt with this painting, a lot of times where I wanted to give up and even give up on my art career. If you saw that video, shout out to you. I'm glad I powered through, and it's not life-size, obviously. It's a small, tiny version of me, but it's the biggest self-portrait I've ever made. And that's pretty dang cool, if I do say so myself. Yes, that's kind of all I have to say, I think, about this painting. Thank you for watching. Like I said before, if you want the extended version of this video with more behind the scenes, more details, and probably more yapping about concepts that I talk about in my course, click the link in my bio. I hope that you guys are having a great day and that you guys go paint and that I helped in some way in regards to just a better mindset about painting. That's it. Okay, it's editing Kaitlyn again. I did really good in this video, but I kind of skimped out on the outro, I realized. So I just want to say thank you all for the support. Finally back on social media. It's been a long time. Just want to say thank you all, and no pressure to buy the course. I didn't want this video to sound like such an ad, but I'm really proud of this project and I want to talk about it more, and I'm not going to stop talking about it just because, you know, a lot of people are selling courses and it might be looked down upon, or, you know, it's me selling something. It is me selling something because I'm an artist and I made it and it's from scratch completely. I'm very proud of it, so I'm gonna keep talking about it, but definitely no pressure at all to buy it. Like, just check it out if you want to. Follow me on all social media. I'm on everything you can think of. Well, not everything. Kaitlyn Blade, KBladeArt, KBlade on everything. I'm starting Twitch soon, so I want to do art streams and video games. I love video games, I love art, so I thought it would be cool to do it live with y'all. And I'll just see you guys in the next video. More soon. More. Just a whole bunch more, because if this break has taught me anything and this injury that I've been dealing with has taught me anything, life is short and you never know when something's gonna happen to kind of disrupt things, or, you know, something life-changing will happen. Do what you can with what you have right now. See you in the next video. It was looking really cool, like almost architectural. Is that a word? More on that later. Why can't I talk? I haven't talked to the camera in so long. Did you say bless you? Thank you. How they do the president and stuff. Is president a bad word now? Like, should I censor that? Wait, is this the thumbnail? This is so stupid. No, it isn't. I love myself.